Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Magic Origins keeps bringing us new cards to do hilarious things with. While there are plenty of decks that were unchanged by the set's release, there were a few forgotten strategies that have new life thanks to the set. One such strategy is Constellation. I hope you enjoy this deck tech, and if you do, please make sure to hit the like button right down there. Look how inviting it is. It wants you to hit it. Okay, let's get going. Abzan Constellation is a deck designed around the Constellation mechanic from Journey into Nyx. Basically, whenever Enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, it triggers Constellation on everything you have that has Constellation, including the card that comes into play with Constellation on it. You play an Enchantment, it triggers Constellation, pretty simple. This deck, however, not so simple. We'll begin with the least complicated part, the mana base. The deck runs 24 lands. Playsets of Windswept Heath, Sandsteppe Citadel, and Llanowar Wastes are joined by 3 copies each of Temple of Malady and Temple of Plenty. After that, we're running 1 Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, 1 Caves of Koilos, 3 Forests, and 1 Plains, 24 lands. Remember, the entire point of this version of Abzan is to take advantage of 2 things. First, Constellation. Second, Sigil of the Empty Throne. Back to standard in Magic Origins, for the first time since Conflux, this card is incredibly powerful in a deck designed around, well, enchantments. That's what we're trying to do here. Create a buttload of angels. We're running 4 sigils because this is the cornerstone of the strategy and our biggest payoff. Okay, so we're an enchantment deck. That means we need enchantments. Starting at the bottom, we have a full playset of Nyx-Fleece Ram. I know, it's been a while. The Ram is amazing against any type of aggressive strategy and nets you life very quickly. This is particularly important since the strategy isn't exactly the fastest to get going. The sheep is also an enchantment, supremely important. At 3 mana, a playset of Courser of Kruphix should surprise no one. It's an enchantment, it's broken in standard, it's also an enchantment, and yeah, still broken. The perfect card for this deck and our only 3-drop creature, so it fits really well into our curve. Going up to 4 mana, we hit our Constellation powerhouses. Eidolon of Blossoms as a 4-of was a mainstay in the original Constellation deck, and there's no reason to remove it now. It draws you a card on every Constellation trigger, including its own. Once you get going, you'll be drawing cards faster than most any other strategy in the format. 2 Eidolons in play, don't even get me started, it's downright unfair. Our last enchantment creature is Doomwake Giant, another 4-of. Another Constellation trigger and another enchantment creature. Giving creatures your opponents control -1/-1 is really strong, especially when you can trigger it multiple times in a turn. You can turn this into a Drown in Sorrow, or even a Languish with enough triggers. Get 2 on the field, it becomes even easier, just decimate an entire board. This is one of those creatures that draws removal spells without a second thought, staple in the strategy. There are 5 more enchantments in the deck that aren't creatures, but they do trigger Constellation, so keep that in mind. We'll start with a playset of Banishing Light. We need removal, and we don't have much of it. Plus, Banishing Light exiles, making Den Protector a tad bit worse. And of course, triggers all of our Constellation creatures. Pretty easy to include. Our last enchantment is a 1-of Whip of Erebos. Some may disagree with this, but this card is insane right now. It's an enchantment, so we're good there. It grants lifelink to help us even more against aggressive strategies, and our stuff is going to be dying a lot, like a lot. Even if we only get 1 or 2 activations off, that's still a couple of possible Constellation triggers across the board. Another attack with a hasted Doomwake Giant. The synergy there is too good to pass up. Think about the triggers, it's so good. That makes a total of 25 enchantments in the deck. That's around the number we want for Sigil to be worth running. The rest of the deck is a mixture of value and support cards. 3 Herald of the Pantheon, while not being an enchantment itself, is the Enchantment Lord. Magic Origins printing this card and Sigil made this deck possible. You drop this early and you're a turn ahead with nearly half of your deck. They'll need to remove it or they just die. Turn 3 Eidolon of Blossoms gets out of hand so quick. Because this is Abzan, we do need some value drops. 3 Siege Rhino and 2 Sylvan Caryatid round out our creature package. Siege Rhino is just too good not to play. It isn't an enchantment, and it doesn't synergize with anything in our deck besides the whip, but it does not matter at all. It's too good not to play. We need the body, we need the life swing, it's exactly what we want. Sylvan Caryatid performs a very different function. This has no synergy with anything, but that doesn't matter when you're running a 3-color deck, and you have a turn 2 hexproof, high toughness blocker that can produce all your colors. Much like the Rhino, it's too good to pass up. Also, we could use the additional ramp. This deck is not fast. The last 3 cards in the deck are ultimate prices. We toyed around with having no removal at all, and that was a horrible option. Turns out killing stuff is a good idea, and right now ultimate price is where we want to be. Hero's Downfall is great, and we're going to talk about it when we talk about the sideboard, but for game 1, we're confident ultimate price can get the job done. It kills all the Origins Planeswalkers before they flip, it kills most threats out of the Heroic deck, Green-Red Ramp deck, any kind of Devotion strategy. It misses Siege Rhino, but we'll get to that in a bit. Ultimate Price is in a great place right now. Do not underestimate this card, so good. This deck has a lot of moving parts, so let's go over what we've got going on. You drop early creatures like the Ram, Caryatid, or Herald. Get some board presence with Courser or Eidolon as soon as you can. Maintaining board presence is super important, even if it's just one Eidolon. Don't hold back too much, you need your engine going. Also, don't be afraid to play multiples of the same Constellation card. You want to do that, especially against anything that isn't control. Double Doomwake decimates mid-range, double Eidolon can draw you out of any hole you're in, pretty much. You get my point. Keep board presence up. The only time you should hold back enchantment creatures is when you have a Sigil ready to go and you need to fuel it. Then hold back, but even then dump your Constellation creatures. They're much better in play sooner than later. Also, thanks to the amount of life gain you have, you can afford to take a couple hits from most decks. Don't be too hasty in chumping their creatures with your Caryatid, Eidolon, or Courser. You don't want to lose those creatures unless you 100% have to. Again, board presence. This is especially important game 1 when you don't have your mass removal and catching back up on board from behind is way harder for you. Sideboard time. Because we've decided to go super deep on the enchantment plan, we had to cut out a lot of value cards that Abzan usually gets to run. Your sideboard will have that last ultimate price. It'll also have at least a couple brain maggots. That card is amazing against control strategies. It forces them to waste removal on it, and it's an enchantment. You can also pack some Thoughtseize or Duress, mainly for walkers or removal, but I'm slowly coming down on them for more brain maggots. The maggot is kind of a sideboard all-star, not gonna lie. Additionally, control is the only deck that's slower than you, which means you need to put on the pressure. Boon Satyr, a full playset out of the side, you need it. The card's crazy good and really speeds up the pace of the game, exactly what you want to do. I'd also side a few Kruphix's Insight, again for the slow matchups. The card is clunky, but the value is undeniable. Almost half your deck makes this card good, use it. The last absolute staple I would run is Hero's Downfall, at least 2, maybe 3. Planeswalkers suck, you hate them. Your deck is slow and Ashiok makes you want to die in a hole. It's worth over sideboarding Downfalls to deal with walkers, it is, trust me. Beyond that, Blue-White Heroic is getting pretty popular. Glare of Heresy is great against that deck, so is Extinguish All Hope. Extinguish is actually bonkers against most any creature-based deck. More often than not, it's a one-sided board wipe, but even when it isn't, a Courser is the only thing of theirs that will survive. The last card I want to mention is Languish. It deserves a couple spots. Extinguish is for games where -4/-4 just won't do it. Languish is for everything else. Kills mono red, kills a lot of green-red decks before they can get going, just got creature-based strategies, mono-black aggro, the card's insane. As far as things coming out, Caryatid isn't good against control, neither is the Ram, neither is your removal, neither is Siege Rhino. All that can come out. Against most any other deck, Eidolon of Blossoms is your go-to first card to come out. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but your other enchantments are going to be more powerful and allow you to live longer. Against super aggressive strategies, you can cut down on Sigil a bit too. I think that about covers it. What do you all think about the new Abzan Constellation? I promise it's way more fun to play than to hear about. If you have the pieces, give it a shot. The synergy is great fun. If you have any questions about the list or have any additions of your own, let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.